In the blessed name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious. Welcome, everyone. Just take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop and let the quiet of the night really settle in around you. It's time to let go of the day's overthinking, you know? Just rest your mind and listen to a story. Tonight's explainer, it's a true story. It's a tale about a small, quiet town, a giant promise, and the absolutely undeniable power of truth. Now, the foundation of this analysis was actually first reported in a fantastic podcast called Reply All, brought to life by reporters like Shruti Pinameni, PJ Vok, Alex Goldman, and a whole team of fact-checkers and editors. But, time has passed since they first told it. So tonight, we're going to look at the complete picture, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So close your eyes, relax your thoughts, and let's travel to a place called Mount Pleasant. Imagine a simple, peaceful town in Wisconsin, a place with only about 26,000 people. It's the kind of town famous for large, green cabbage farms and malted milk. The kind of place where neighbors actually know each other and life moves at a very calm, predictable pace. Well, in this town lived a woman named Kelly Gallagher. Kelly had lived there for 30 years in this beautiful home near Lake Michigan. She was a retired teacher and she cared deeply about her town. And because she cared, she paid really close attention to the local government. She went to the village hall meetings, stood right at the microphone, and asked the hard questions. She pointed out when a police captain took way too much extra pay, or when the town completely failed to keep public records. Now, some people say that a citizen asking questions of the government is just being a busybody trying to cause trouble, but the reality, asking questions is exactly what keeps a community safe and honest. It's literally a protective shield. But the village president, a guy named Dave DeGroot, didn't exactly like Kelly's questions. In fact, he lived just 10 doors down from her, and they argued constantly. Well, once, an egg was thrown at Dave's house, and he publicly accused Kelly of organizing a political attack against his home. Now, some people say that just because a leader makes an accusation, it must be true. But the reality is, the truth requires proof. When the police investigated, they found absolutely zero evidence connecting Kelly to the egg. It was simply a minor prank by some local teenagers. But this false accusation, it was just the very beginning of a much larger breakdown of trust. Fast forward to the summer of 2017, and the quiet of Mount Pleasant was completely shattered. A local farmer called Kelly, totally shocked. Real estate agents had just knocked on her door and offered her $30,000 for every single acre of her land. Normally, an acre there was worth about $3,000. I mean, think about that for a second. Imagine you have an old, simple bicycle in your garage and a stranger suddenly knocks on your door offering you $10,000 for it. Instantly, you'd know a massive secret was hiding just out of sight. So naturally, the townspeople went straight to the village hall to ask what was going on. But President Dave DeGroot and the town leaders actually locked the doors. They held secret meetings. They refused to tell the public anything. Meanwhile, outside, strange helicopters are flying over the town, and drones are literally filming children playing in their backyards. And as we all know, fear grows quickly in the dark. A family's home is their sanctuary, right? A place of peace. And when leaders hide the truth, that peace is completely broken. Finally, the secret was revealed on national television by the President of the United States. A massive, multi-billion-dollar technology company from Asia named Foxconn was coming to Mount Pleasant, and they promised to spend a staggering $10 billion to build a giant factory that made television screens. And, even more incredibly, they promised to hire 13,000 American workers. On the surface, this sounded like an absolute dream. Jobs and wealth were coming. But, as they say, wise people always look at the past to understand the future. You see, Foxconn was famous, but really for the wrong reasons. Some people might say that any large company bringing jobs is inherently good, but the reality is that a company's character matters. Foxconn had a documented history of treating its factory workers in Asia so poorly, literally treating human beings like simple machines, that they actually had to place nets outside their windows to catch desperate workers. Furthermore, financial experts immediately saw a huge problem. To get Foxconn to come, the state and the small village of Mount Pleasant agreed to give the company billions of dollars in free taxpayer money and loans. Usually a town might spend around $24,000 to help create a new job, but Mount Pleasant and the state, they were offering roughly $200,000 for every single job. But the town leaders were completely blinded by the big numbers. When a local citizen, an older black man named Al Gardner, who remembered when the nearby city of Racine was filled with good factories, stood up to ask a totally fair question about his taxes, Dave DeGroot yelled at him. He treated Al with total disrespect and actually had the police remove him from the meeting. When Kelly tried to speak, Dave DeGroot illegally banned her from speaking unless she wrote a forced apology letter. Soon after that, an anonymous, hateful website appeared on the internet, attacking Kelly, her husband, and her family with vicious lies. Kelly suspected the town leaders were behind it. Even years later, in 2022, a powerful town official tried to sue Kelly in court just to keep her quiet. But you know what? The truth always shines through the darkness. The judge looked at the case, scolded the official for not being honest, and completely threw the lawsuit out. Kelly was just a citizen doing her homework.
Now, to build this massive, imaginary factory, the town obviously needed land, and that land belonged to families. So to force the families out, the town leaders used a legal trick. They declared the beautiful, safe family homes to be blighted. Some people say that if a government declares a property blighted, it must be ruined and unsafe, right? But the reality is that these were gorgeous homes. The town just needed an excuse to bulldoze them for the foreign company.
And this is where the story truly breaks your heart. There was a man named Sean McFarland. Sean was an amputee. He had one leg and used a wheelchair. He lived with his children in a home specifically designed for people with disabilities. But the town forced him out, rushing him into a freezing, broken temporary house where the water didn't work and the doors were too narrow for his wheelchair. Sean actually had to take the doors off the hinges just to use the bathroom. The town leaders had looked Sean in the eye, shook his hand, and promised to give him the $22,000 he needed to fix up his next permanent home. But right before he was supposed to move, they called him with zero empathy and completely canceled the money. They broke their promise to a disabled father. Sean sat in his wheelchair at the village hall, just weeping. He asked what he had done to deserve this. He had trusted them, and they had taken his family's safety away.
So, what actually happened to the giant factory? What happened to the 13,000 jobs? Well, nothing. The experts were completely right. Foxconn never built the giant television factory. They never invested the $10 billion. The promises vanished like smoke in the wind. The state wisely pulled back its money, but Mount Pleasant was left with massive, crushing debt. When reporters visited the land, there was no futuristic technology park. It was literally just an empty expanse of dirt, stretching as far as the eye could see. It looked like the lifeless surface of the moon. And yet, while the land sat empty, public records show the town was paying a private consultant named Claude Lois $25,000 every single month of taxpayer money with absolutely zero oversight.
But as we know, life is full of unexpected turns. By 2023, the world experienced a massive boom in artificial intelligence. And a major American company, Microsoft, desperately needed empty land with heavy electrical power to build data centers. So Microsoft came in and bought the empty Foxconn land for millions of dollars, eventually promising over $13 billion in investments by 2026. Because of this totally unexpected twist, the town of Mount Pleasant was finally able to pay off its crushing debts. So, as you lie there, letting your body relax, I want you to think about what this story truly means. Some people might say that because Microsoft arrived and saved the town's money, the town leader's original secret plan was somehow a success. But reality is entirely different. You see, you can replace lost money, but you can never, ever buy back a broken promise. A community isn't made of concrete, dirt, or data centers. A community is made of neighbors. It's made of the trust between people. It's made of protecting the weakest among us, like a father in a wheelchair just trying to keep his children warm. When leaders let greed, ego, and secrets guide them, they destroy the very fabric of society. But when citizens bravely stand up for the truth, even when they are insulted or sued, they protect the soul of their home. True wisdom tells us that we are ultimately responsible for how we treat others. The truth matters, compassion matters. A truly successful life and a successful town
is built on honesty, fairness, and pure kindness.
Rest your mind now. The world is full of noise, but the truth is simple, quiet, and lasting. Close your eyes, let go of the day, and drift into a peaceful, deep sleep. Good night. But before you drift off entirely, I want to leave you with one final thought. What happens when the next massive promise comes to your town? And will there be a Kelly Gallagher there to ask the hard questions?